Welcome back to Chaos Corner. It's your old buddy, the guardian of chaos, Big Daddy. And I tell it like it is. I'll say that to say this. Here for Chaos Corner Extra. Chaos Corner, we'll even say, maybe we could label it show number 32, live to tape. Same day coverage, but who knows when I'll put it up on the YouTube channel. But I'm happy that you're back here for Chaos Corner. Again, I say it all the time. Follow me on all social media platforms: Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, of course on Parler, on Gab, on Rumble. And yes, I said Parler because Parler will be back. I don't want to get into all the censorship and freedom of speech and all that. We're going to keep it positive. We're going to keep it pro wrestling. We're going to keep it Chaos Corner. Please disregard the book that you saw me reading. Please disregard the man behind the curtain. There's nothing to see here, fans. Move on. There's nothing to see here at Chaos Corner. What we're going to do here on this impromptu show down here in the bunker, you see that there's nobody in the studio here. I kicked everybody out. I'm down here solo, so I'm in control of everything, whatever that means. You see, we have the music on. Follow me and stay here because we're going to talk about pro wrestling history here on Chaos Corner. I'm going to run down a bunch of historical dates and matches here as an extra for Chaos Corner. Show number 32, we'll say live to tape, and then we'll put it up on YouTube for consumption, for content, for everyone to check it out because it's pure history. So stay with us here. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to review a lot of different things. We don't ever know what's going to happen down here in Chaos Corner. But I'll say that to say this. Don't you dare miss it. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Follow me over to the channel at Guardian of Chaos. I greatly appreciate it. What do you think of the boas? Welcome back, fans. Again, a very interesting read for all you people out there. Bert Sugar, Captain Lou Albano, something I've been studying and reading for, I don't know, since it came out. When was this published? It's an unbelievable book. I feel like I almost wrote it myself, to be quite honest with you. And it starts off and goes all the way back to 1908 and Frank Gotch, in the first and the finest in pro wrestling history and a universally recognized world champions of wrestling. So this was published, listen, by Captain Lou, Burt Randolph Sugar, and Roger Woodson, a complete idiot's guide to the world of pro wrestling. And no offense against anyone, including myself. We know you're all out there. The brain of a dehydrated baby. This is from Alpha Books. Again, Captain Lou and Burt Randolph Sugar, God rest their souls, both of them. Lou was a big part of my mentorship, and we got a chance to work together a couple of times. And I was even going to be, for Sheldon Goldberg's NECW and for Tony Rumble's NWA, a chance of Captain Lou Albano Jr., which would have really sent it over the top, but it didn't work out. It didn't pan out, but an unbelievable opportunity. And Lou was a huge influence. Now, let me see, before we get on to the historical part of what I want to talk about. Where is the date on this? I'm going to quickly glance through the contents. Thanks for being here on Chaos Corner. It's great to be back in the bunker. I was on the road for several episodes. We did episode 30, show number 30, if you will, just a couple of days ago, talking to every wrestling organization and promotion in the country, the major leagues. And we just finished up show number 31, covering Royal Rumble and the history of the Royal Rumble. So it's great to be here in 2021, considering I was a fan from 1970 as a little boy, and then introduced to the business through the Tonga Kid and the Wild Samoans and World Gym back in the day in 1983, and then my brief introduction in 84 to the school, and traveling in 88, 89 with WCW, just unbelievable. And then, of course, to make my debut in 92 as a pro wrestling manager, and the rest is history. So we're gonna make it about, I'm still trying to figure out when this was printed. Okay, here we go. The copyright is 1999, so this book is over 20 years old, 21 years old, but so relevant, probably more relevant than anything that you'll see today. So if you get a chance to go out and get this, it really is something. Before we get on here, And I'll just briefly mention the early part, long before any of us ever came around, from 1908 through 1915 to the 1920s, the 1930s. The original world champions of wrestling and what's universally recognized, from Frank Gotch, Charlie Cutler, Joe Stetcher, Earl Caddick, Edge Strangler Lewis, Stanislaus Zabisco, Wayne Big Munn, Gus Sonnenberg, Ed Don George, Henry DeGlan, Dick Chicotte, Jim Londos, Jim Browning, Dano O'Mahony, Dick Shitak, Ali Baba, Dave Levin, Dean Denton, Everett Marshall, Lou Thez, Steve Crusher Casey, Bronco Nagurski. Now, fans, I realize it's way before our time, but just to show you the history and how long professional wrestling has been around, and every federation had its own championship belt, and it usually recognized that only the performers within its own ranks as the world champion. But until the 1930s, there was only one title. Its lineage dated back to Frank Gotch, as I said, and ended with Bronco Nagurski, and that was the list of those greats that I just went through. And that's why this book right here is an unbelievable read. It breaks down everything that you can imagine. I'll just briefly run through it before I get on to the history. Part one is the crazy world called pro wrestling. Part two is the founding fathers, wrestling's colorful history. Part three is modern madness, wrestling today, 1999, before 9/11, before the 20th century. Part four, all the right moves, inner and outer workings of the ring. Again, fans, I'm COVID negative, so get lost before you say something silly in the comment section. Part number five, beyond the squared circle, wrestling extras. And then, of course, the appendices, who's who in pro wrestling, wrestling resources. It really is an unbelievable read. One of these days, we'll spend a whole show and a whole podcast of Chaos Corner down here, and we'll go through everything. They even have Captain Lou's Corner here in the book. If you look at it, one of the brief things that are in here, Captain Lou's Corner, unbelievable. If you can read that, I don't know if I'm too close. Where do you think Chaos Corner came from? Captain Lou's Corner, the Captain's Corner, my mentor, probably my biggest influence of the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy character. Chaos Corner, Captain Lou's Corner. So just a little history, a little lineage. It's unbelievable read, and they talk about everything in here, from Bruno Sammartino to Killer Kowalski, and then, of course, the photos, Harley Race, Dusty Rhodes. The photos here are worth it alone. I'll show you some of the photos. Right here is Sabu diving onto Doug Furness and Phil LaFon, an unbelievable tag team, and I'll see if I can get it up here close, fans, for some of these photos. If you could see Sabu right there, unbelievable. Let me get it up a little higher. Against LaFon. Yeah, you can see up the proboscis. Look at the side of the proboscis. So, unbelievable photo. And if you see any nail polish, that's because my 2.5-year-old granddaughter is already starting to paint my nails. So I have to let them grow out. So before we get a little crazy here about the nail polish and the gloss on the G.O.C., here we have Chris Jericho with the championship belt, Hollywood Hogan and WCW in the cage. My good friend, the old-time photographer, and I say that old time because he's been around for so many years. Not only was Bill Apter and George Napolitano the legends of this business who started a lot of it. Another guy who I saw at ringside, good friend of mine, Timothy A. Walker, took these photos. So big credit to Timothy A. Walker. Also, the Iron Sheik here, and Bloody Doug Gilbert, all photos by Timothy Walker. I'm going to show them to you, fans. Again, cut me some slack on the nail polish, will you please? There you see a young Jericho with the belt. Hulk Hogan as NWO Hogan in WCW, getting into the cage. Nice photos. The Iron Sheik as we all knew the Sheik. What a great photo. When he used to do the twirl with those hammers, unbelievable Sheik. And again, you know the history that we were on Jerry Springer together, unbelievable Sheik. And actually was supposed to manage the Iron Sheik in the 90s, but it didn't work out, as a lot of things in the business don't. Doug Gilbert, a bloody Doug Gilbert, for the fans that remember Doug. Unbelievable wrestler. So this is all in this book of different photos. And again, I could show you a few more. Here's one of Terry Bam Bam Gordy and Perry Saturn, also by Timothy A. Walker. Another photo I'd love to show you guys. There he is, the fabulous Freebirds. Never had a chance to work any shows with Gordy, but again, in the late 80s, WCW, being able to hang out with Michael Hayes was unbelievable. Time of our lives. It was just a short road trip, but I'll never forget it. Hampton, Virginia, Baltimore, Maryland. And there's a young Perry Saturn. Inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. So a lot of great stuff in this book. And again, I've had it since it came out. I bought it in 99 or 2000. So just in something extra here on Chaos Corner. This is really an unbelievable read. So check it out, fans. The Complete Idiot's Guide. And for those people out there that don't know what the hell you're talking about, you'll find this interesting. I lived this. I feel like I authored it. But anyway, on to the task at hand. Chaos Corner. Down here in the bunker, you see I'm broke out the old regalia. You see, right? The feathered boa is going back to my history and the lineage of the G.O.C. character. And you see... is the stitch? How's the stitching on this? You know what it says? Does anybody really want to know what it says on here? It says, "Game on, mother ucker." It's a nice hat. It's reality, because I tell it like it is. So on to having a lot of fun here at Chaos Corner. I'm glad you're here for the extra on YouTube. We're not going to be that long. This was something spur of the moment down in the bunker. Like I said, I wanted to throw some information out there. You know, I'm big on history, so I'm going to throw out some historical dates and years and just what happened, not in any chronological order, but all this stuff happened within the last couple of months on the history dates of historical facts here. So I love to throw it out there. If you go back to the earlier shows, I have a few that are just like this, that are all history and facts. So we're going to really take you back. And thanks for being here on, I guess, show episode number 32. We are live to tape, though. And again, you know, unscripted, unedited, one-man show. Everybody's out of here. I hung around in the bunker because I had some extra time this weekend, so I want to be able to put it out there and put it up and have a lot of fun. And gotta stay hydrated. I know I'm on here with the Red Bull and the tribute to Mike Francesa, my buddy there, and the Diet Coke, and you gotta stay hydrated, though. If you don't do this, it's the most important thing for your body. At least I'm not like a lot of other podcasters and guests that are on there eating while they're podcasting. And speaking of podcasts, I talk about this platform all the time, and it's a gentleman by the name of Avi Klein and his Wrestling with Anything But podcast platform that's on Facebook and Facebook Live and on Twitch, and pretty soon it'll be on Patreon and on all social media platforms. What they've done in the first 6 or 7 months on that platform is bigger than what Joe Rogan has done on his platform. So let's remember that. And they're on 7 days a week live for at least a couple of hours a day. 7 days a week. What other platform gives you that? And once I give you the lineup, you're not going to believe it. The major player, the one who created this, the host, the co-host, the man that brought it all together is Avi Klein. And on Mondays, he does a recap and a review show of all the shows from the previous week on Mondays. Again, Wrestling with Anything But. And then on Facebook, it's Avi Klein. And then he does the recap show on Mondays. Tuesdays, he has a double dip with Breaking the Ice and Glacier Ray Lloyd. Followed up that night at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Face Value in the former Hugh Morris, Bill DeMott. And of course, the incredible Carrie Ann DeMott Foundation for Bill DeMott's daughter. So Tuesday is the double dip. Monday, the review show, and Avi always has special guests and special surprises on the Monday show for the recap. Tuesday, noontime, as I said, Ray Lloyd, Breaking the Ice, It's unbelievable podcast, followed by Bill DeMott, and of course his association with his daughter, and the most important thing about Face Value, the Carrie Ann DeMott Foundation. Wednesday is Maintaining the Truth at 7 p.m. live with Pretty Paul Roma, the head trainer from Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling and the Paradise 4. You're not going to want to miss it. He has a special section where he gives tributes to first responders and patriots and law enforcement. You will not find anything like Maintaining the Truth with Pretty Paul Roma and Avi Klein. That's Wednesdays at 7 p.m. And then 5 p.m. on Thursdays with the WWE Hall of Famer, Aloha Don Morocco, the magnificent one, the original Rock. 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, noontime Pacific Standard Time out in Hawaii. Okay, for Making Waves with Don Morocco. I think I have that right time. It's either 5 or 5 p.m. since there's change of the Eastern Standard Daylight Savings, but out of Hawaii. Peheaoi, Melehini Kane, Pupule, Wiki Wiki, Mahalo, Don Morocco, Making Waves. Thursday nights with Avi Klein. Fridays, one of the most important shows on the channel. Road to Recovery with Duke the Dumpster Drosy, an unbelievable show about everything from recovery to addiction to saving lives to pro wrestling. One of the most entertaining men in the podcast world in the IWC, and that would be Duke the Dumpster Drosy with Avi Klein. Friday nights at 6 p.m., Road to Recovery. Saturdays is the Green Room, and it's all unbelievable guys, and it's an unbelievable work. I compare it to Saturday Night Live and Second City Television combined from back in the day, if you remember, and getting higher rankings. Almost 3 million viewers on Wrestling with Anything But throughout all 7 days of the podcast. It's unbelievable, breaking records. So the Green Room with Avi Klein, and right now they're in the middle of a trial. Who's going to be the host, whether it's going to be the legendary grappler Mickey Doyle, or it's going to be David Holliday, or the musician Howard Collado. There's a lot of things going on the Green Room. It used to be on at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I believe Avi has pushed it to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're not going to want to miss the Green Room every Saturday night. It will be on tonight if I post this. If not, it'll be on next Saturday. And then Sundays, another very inspirational show that will give you reality at its best. Unmasking the Truth with the Patriot Del Wilkes. And you know Del Wilkes from WCW, the WWE, and of course his stay at All Japan Wrestling, a true legend and a true patriot. So Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's Avi Klein with the Patriot Del Wilkes for Unmasking the Truth. So here's the lineup. 7 days a week, live, Facebook, Twitch, Patreon, and it's going to be unbelievable. Monday, the review show with Avi Klein. Tuesdays, Breaking the Ice with Glacier Ray Lloyd, followed by Face Value and Bill DeMott. Wednesdays, Maintaining the Truth with Paul Roma. Thursdays, Making Waves with the magnificent Don Morocco. Friday, Road to Recovery with Duke the Dumpster Drosy. Saturday, The Green Room with Avi Klein. And Sunday, Unmasking the Truth with the Patriot Del Wilkes. You're not going to want to miss it. And there's more shows, and there's more stars hopping on board onto this platform. I just saw Ken Patera on there. He's coming on board to the platform of Avi Klein. You're not going to want to miss it. We're almost 18 to 20 minutes in here. I wanted to throw out that podcast that I listen to because it's 7 days a week. You're not going to want to miss it. And you fans know out there and everyone in the IWC that my number one go-to source is JD from New York and Off the Script. Make no bones about it. That is my guy. And of course I have my other guys that I follow, whether it be Don, Tony, and Mish, whether it be that crazy bastard Joe Cronin for the entertainment value, whether it be a work in progress, whether it be Bourbon Soaked Live with Juliet Miranda and David the producer, all the different people that I listen to. I even listen to Vince Russo and Jim Cornette. I listen to everyone because that's how you get your knowledge. I even throw in a little Alvarez. And of course, my boy, the professor, Rick Del Santo over at PWZ. So those are all the different people, plus many, many more. And if you want your parody and satire and strictly political parody and satire, let me say that word again, parody and satire, you're going to want to follow my buddy Adam Rotella at Rotella Streams. Now he's in the middle of revamping and redoing, and he may be going over to other sites, but you're going to want to follow him because it's entertainment. All it is, it's a work. It's satire, it's parody, it's a work, and I find it to be very entertaining. So I'm just going to throw that out there. We're 20 minutes in here, Chaos Corner, extra, if you will, show number 32, live to tape. let's kick back before I get on to some history. Really having a lot of fun down here. This is what I enjoy doing best. I got a face for radio. Make onions cry. Scare the rats off cheesecake. You get it. A lot of good notes here. Well, let me take another break. Let me catch the second boost. I'm doing 2 and 3 shows in one day. Gotta love it. All right, bingo, out of the gate. Let's go. Let's get this done here, fans, because I'd like to throw the information. It takes a lot of my time, a lot of research, but you have to get the numbers and the information correct. Leave a comment, hit the bell, put something in the comment section, email me, chaosbigdaddy, the number 2 at yahoo.com. As I said, on all the social media platforms, you can inbox me, DM me. I'll take your ideas. I'll read your questions live on the air, live to tape, and we'll put them up. Here we go with the history at Chaos Corner. Show number 32, Chaos Corner Extra. Here we go. 1960, Vern Gagne captures the AWA World Heavyweight title. 1962, Bobo Brazil wins the NWA title in Newark, New Jersey over Buddy Rogers. The match was stopped due to a groin injury because Bobo refused the title, so it was not recognized. So Roger, talk about showmanship, talk about legends, talk about sportsmanship that you see in places like Ring of Honor or what they're trying to do in AEW. Bobo Brazil refused to take the title because Buddy Rogers was injured, and so it wouldn't have been recognized. That's a part of history. 1978, Mil Mascaras defeats the Destroyer in Japan to win the AJPW PWF US title. Say that 3 times fast. History in the making. 1982, Iron Mike Sharp defeats Killer Khan for the Mid-South Louisiana title. 1988, Leo Burke defeats Rip Rogers for the Grand Prix International title in Nova Scotia. 1991, Cien Caras defeats Conan for the CMLL title in Monterrey, Mexico. 1997, Jeep Swenson, the huge monster from World Class Championship Wrestling, go back and do your research, dies of heart failure at the age of only 40 years old. Jeep Swenson. 1998, at the age of 61, Terry Garvin passes away at the age of 61. Terry Garvin. 1992, the Great Muta defeats Riki Choshu for the IWGP title in Fukuda, Japan. 1996, Lord Steven Regal defeats Lex Luger for the WCW TV title in Dalton, Georgia, and he wasn't Lord Steven Regal at that time, I don't believe. 1999, Balls Mahoney and Spike Dudley defeat Bubba and Devon to win the ECW tag team titles in Cleveland. How about that? The Dudley Boys over the Dudley Boys. 2000, the Monday Night Wars continued with the WWE earning a 5.9 rating to a WCW rating of 2.4. This is where the title started to turn back to the WWE. We know the history from there. 2007, the United States Congress, in the wake of the Benoit murders, issue letters to the WWE, the NWA, and TNA seeking information on the business and drug use within. History. 2007. They should have did it many years prior. 1980. The World Wrestling Federation Shea Stadium Series. Steel cage match. Bruno defeats Larry Zbyszko. Andre defeats Hulk Hogan. Bob Backlund and Pedro Morales win the Worldwide Wrestling Federation Tag Team titles over the Wild Samoans. Unbelievable. The Shea Stadium Series, fans, if you haven't seen that, from the 80s. I believe there were 3 or 4 Shea Stadium Series in the late 70s into the early 80s. Unbelievable classic matches at Shea Stadium, where the New York Mets home ballpark was. I love history, fans. This is why I bring it. 1966, Fritz Von Erich defeats Johnny Valentine in Fort Worth, Texas for the NWA American Heavyweight title. 1983, Tatsumi Fujinami defeats Riki Choshu, Tokyo, Japan for the WWF International Heavyweight title. 1984, the Super Medics defeat the Invaders in San Juan, Puerto Rico for the World Wrestling Council World Tag Team titles. 1989, Cactus Jack, a.k.a. Mick Foley, and Scott Braddock defeat Jeff Jarrett and the Maniac Matt Bourne for the World Class Tag Team titles, which would become the USWA tag team titles for all those fans out there that may not know that or may not remember that. 1989. 1997, the Monday Night Wars, WCW stomped the WWE. Luger defeated Hogan for the WCW title. DDP went over Ric Flair. Benoit went over X-Pac, who was 6 at that time. It did a 4.4 million rating, and put that into today's ratings. They had more in that one show than they did for the whole week for the WWE here in 2021. Raw did a 2.7 back then, with Dude Love, aka Mick Foley, over Owen Hart, and then Triple H over Vader. Well, it wasn't Triple H over Vader, it was a double DQ, and that's the night that WCW, I believe, gave the spoilers for the main event of Dude Love and Owen Hart's. A lot of politics. What a great time. I was in my middle 30s back then. What a great time to be in the business. 2003, Monday Night Raw had a 4.0 rating with Goldberg, Ric Flair, Triple H, and good old JR. Vince returned that night. Also, Kane and Bischoff were on the show, and if you remember the infamous Katie Vick angle. We'll talk about, listen, the creative and storytelling a lot of times wasn't better back then. We all remember the infamous Katie Vick storyline, and if you don't, go back and research it. Vince returned and with Linda McMahon on one of her rarer appearances on a 2003 Monday Night Raw. Talk about history. Katie Vick, really? Come on. 1994, Chris Candido and Brian Lee defeat the Rock and Roll Express for the Smoky Mountain Tag Team titles. 1984, the Junkyard Dog makes his WWF debut. 1984 for the JYD. Here we go. 1963, Ali Bey defeats Gory Guerrero to win the EMLL NWA Light Heavyweight title in El Paso, Texas. 2001, Yoshihiro Tajiri defeats X-Pac for the WWE Light Heavyweight title in Anaheim, California. 2009, TNA broadcasts Impact Universal Studios Florida for the first time with Lashley, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, Team 3D, Booker T, Mick Foley becomes the Legends Champion, and Sting. What a night in 2009. TNA at Universal Studios. Who knew? TNA, in my opinion, was a pretty damn solid and decent, good product back then with a lot of stars. I enjoyed the TNA product. A lot of people bash it, but I enjoyed it. 2010, a Q&A with Ric Flair and Harley Race talking Starrcade 1983 at the NWA Legends Fan Fest in Charlotte, North Carolina. Could you imagine being at that Q&A to talk the legendary Starrcast 83 and that match between Race and Flair? Go back and check it out, fans. You're not going to want to miss that historical moment, 1983. Starrcade, and at least check out the interview from 2010, the NWA Legends Fan Fest from Charlotte, North Carolina. 1999, Y2J, Chris Jericho, and the Rock segment on Raw. It was unbelievable as compared to the Monday Night Wars when the NWA, when Hogan came back with the red and yellow to Nitro. That historical moment there, both those shows at the same night. Like now we have AEW Dynamite and we have NXT on Wednesday, and you also throw in MLW. You have Impact and AEW on Tuesday night. You call these wars, but this was the real, as far as program television and professional wrestling. I don't like to use that word war, but that's what we used back then. Jericho and the Rock segment was unbelievable in 99. And then on the same night, you talk about channel surfing, Hogan coming back with the red and yellow, 1999. 2002, Ron the Truth Killings, that's right, R-Truth, becomes the first black man to be the NWA champion over Ken Shamrock. R-Truth, and look at him, you got to give him credit. I'm not saying I agree with it, the 24/7 title, but R-Truth, Ron the Truth Killing, could possibly be one of the most entertaining wrestlers in the history of the business. Just look at his longevity. You got to give him credit. I compare him to Tommy Dreamer. Look at his longevity. Guys that are truly giving back in this business, and that's what it's really all about, isn't it? Paying homage and tribute, and being a carpenter and laying the foundation, and for the tribute for the people that paved the way before you. Kind of like how the Cauliflower Alley Club does it, the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, so on and so forth. So you get where I'm talking about. So Ron the Truth Killings, unbelievable talent. 1977, Hogan debuts as Destroyer in Florida. How about that? Did anybody know that he debuted as a destroyer in Florida? 1977, Hulk Hogan. That's how far back goes. If I have, listen, if I have my notes correct here, that's what it says. That's what was handed to me. Although they're not here anymore, so I'm going to take the weight for it. 1977. I'm going to have to check that out. Did Hogan debut under a hood as the Destroyer in Florida? Because we know he was in Florida Championship Wrestling. That's where he was trained. That's where he had his leg broken by Hiro Matsuda. So we'll have to go back and check on that. 1980. Bob Backlund and Pedro Morales win the titles over the Samoans at Shea Stadium. We talked about that with Andre. Was the first time Hogan actually body slammed Bruno and Zbyszko in the cage. We talked about the Shea Stadium series. Fans, go out and check that out. I'm hoping that these numbers are accurate here. 1988, Owen and Kurt Hennig both debut. Owen Hart and Kurt Hennig, talk about lineage, talk about professional wrestling, talk about future stars and how they create them in the business. 1988, Owen Hart and Kurt Hennig in the same year debut. Unbelievable. 1994, ECW's Hardcore Heaven and the unbelievable match between Cactus Jack and Terry Funk where they threw all the chairs in the middle of the ring and they were buried alive by chairs. Go back and check out 1997. 1994 Hardcore Heaven, which leads me into 1997, where ECW, where Sabu beat Terry Funk in that unbelievable ECW title barbed wire match. That's why the dates. 94 Hardcore Heaven, Cactus Jack and Funk, and then, of course, 1997 ECW, the barbed wire match between Sabu and Funk. You're not going to want to miss. Those are legendary. That's what put ECW on the map, is matches like that, and the Dudley Boys and Taz and Dreamer. Unbelievable what happened. And then you see they brought in the legends to ECW, and that's what really pushed the business to have the three. After AEW has subsided and gone off to the wayside, NWA was folding. You had WCW and the WWE. And then here came ECW, and you see why they were successful. And they were in charge of what I think the WWE created into the Attitude Era. That's my thoughts and my opinions here on Chaos Corner. 2010, which is only about 10 years ago, Seth Rollins debuts in the WWE. 1997, The Rock joins the Nation of Domination.